You have a
Let me start with the Epstein case, because there was an expectation that this was going to be bigger. You had the same expectation.
We all did. And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, you know, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m. to get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept. Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m., thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Cash is also, now that we have Cash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Cash is going to, Director Patel is going to get us a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those documents.
Okay, I want to be clear, because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower that confirmed that there were way more documents that they were supposed to turn over, and then you found out just before that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. You know, there were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so a source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York. Yep. So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Cash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld.
How do you like the coaching there from Sean?
Oh, no.
Well,
No. This was a dog and pony show from Deep State Hannity. He's working with her. She's been on there 71 times since she was confirmed. Chick's got to go. It's too much, too many things, too much baggage. She seems like a cheerleader. I'm sorry. We don't have time for her and her games. I assume she's a pick from Wiley. The Gates was undermined by Wiley. Look, you want to do another Jeff Sessions? You want to go through Bill Barr again? You got to stop the bleeding. She's got to go by Monday. She's got to resign. There's no other way around this thing. I mean, we can mince. You and I could go through her statement and pick it apart for how insane it is.
Well, you don't have to go that far, because she was stumbling all over.
She was stumbling with Mark Groubert.
Like, I'm on the script. I'm now. What's that script again? And then Sean's like, "Your next line is blah blah blah."
Lady. This is prime time. We're not in the swamp of Florida anymore. She's not ready for prime time. Her fucking deep state bullshit is not even at the professional level, Eric, of deep state professional bullshit. That's why she had to bring in a guy from the bullpen named Sean Hannity with his CIA pin to prop her up.
I was going to say, is he going to put the pin back on?
No, he doesn't have to. He wore the pin for 12 years. What do I need to see the pin every night? Like the bat signal? Jesus Christ. This woman's got to go. That's it. I don't care. He could do it now, Trump, or he could drag it out and waste a ticking clock of 2 years that everyone has in their head for him to do this, all kinds of work before the midterms. And he has come out of the gate like a war horse, running and galloping. And this chick is attempting to stop it. Whatever her game is, it's to slow down file releases. She sounds like a complete idiot. She's not good at what she's doing here, and she's not ready for prime time, Eric.
Well, there is a possibility. You've got literally Cash Patel waiting in the wings. He could be bumped up from the FBI to Attorney General.
Yeah.
And Bongino could be shifted up a level to FBI Director.
That's what we discussed during the week. I think that might be the move. I mean, because she's not ready. She's clearly not ready. Even if she's telling the truth, she's not ready. So either way you look at this, if she is telling the truth, she's not ready. And if she's not telling the truth, she's not ready.
Mm-hmm.
This
liar is essentially the
right. I think that's the take. And, you know, if you want to be benevolent about it, you could keep saying she just got in there. Well, everybody just got in there. And the amount of work we've seen since January 20th has been insane until she got in there. Now everything is ground to a halt. I'm under the understanding that one of the deputy attorney generals attempted to go to a grand jury today on the Chuck Schumer matter regarding his threats to the Supreme Court. I understand that the Department of Justice put a kibosh on it. She's not responding to that. She's not responding to the March 10th Seth Rich document release, if that's real or not.
I'm not sure on that one. And I was talking to Mark before the show, and I just want to qualify because I found only one source on that of a Twitter account I'm not familiar with. And I always want to double check. I'm always trying to find articles or other documentation so I could share it on the show.
Well, at 8 a.m. on Friday, when this truckload pulled in, she gave no press release. She made no statement.
I was
She
wondering
promised.
what about Levin? Did she tell Levin that the truck arrived?
No, apparently not.
So I guess she somehow even though it arrived on Friday, she forgot that it arrived on Saturday, but only to remember it arrived on Monday.
She needed a whistleblower to tell her what everyone in the United States knew as to the physical location. Dig that, man. The physical location of the files. They weren't in the Batcave. They weren't in that Sugi, Japanese air base with Oswald. Everybody knew where they physically were, apparently, except her. So she needed a whistleblower to tell her there were 10,000 more pages at the Southern District of New York office across the street from the New York office of the FBI. Nobody knew this as to where it was. Controlled by somebody's daughter.
But here's the funny part too. Remember, she went on Jesse Waters last week and said, "I have the files on my desk, and they're sick."
Oh, dude, I can't even go back that far. I mean, it's so.
No, but how would you know they're sick when everything that was in there is so sanitized? I mean, it was like flight logs. What's sick? People were on a plane. How are these? Yeah. So it really implies something else.
He added 2 words into the hopper, and that's national security now. Not only does this have to be vetted, there's a number of bumps in the road. If you're listening carefully and slow it down, she's now awaiting a report on the report from
Cash.
She's saying this. Cash Patel's not saying this. He hasn't lost his ability to speak. He hasn't had a press conference saying, "I'm writing a report for the Attorney General about this." He hasn't said, "I received the documents." In fact, he hasn't said anything. Every single thing we're getting is out of her mouth. She's now waiting for a report. And she's added that not only do the victims have to be vetted, which Hunley with an AI program in his underwear could do in 5 minutes, vetting the actual names of victims, Hunley, right? She said, pretty much. She now says that it has to be vetted for national security. Well, that's wide open. That could take years. Give me a break with this woman.
JFK.
Yeah. Oh, forget about. She adds on at the end. Oh yeah, they're all coming. JFK's coming. Y'all gonna get JFK. You're gonna get MLK, CBK, EK. You're gonna get every K. Give me a break. She's Jeff Sessions in a blonde wig, bro.
Yeah. Now one good thing did happen. James Dennehy is gone.
Yeah. Oh, she also, she said on Mark Levin, by the way, that she wrote a strongly worded letter and sent.
I always like those.
She sent a strongly worded letter. And if people didn't ship up and shape up, that she would actually go as far as to actually fire them.
Okay. Well, looks like
Musk fires 10,000 people before he has lunch, but she is thinking about firing Dennehy.
Right. It looks like Cash managed to get it done.
Yeah, it took one phone call. Get your stuff and get out.
I mean, the guy admitted. He said, "I was told on Friday to turn in my retirement papers." There you go. That was Patel, and very quietly just doing it.
People say that Trump likes them to bury themselves and then get rid of them, whatever. He's certainly not adverse to firing people. So I don't know how far he wants this to go, but as I pointed out, there's a 2-year ticking clock that's already started. He doesn't have time for this. She's got to go by Friday. We don't have time for her to learn on the job, even if she is being honest or dishonest, to block punts that are being released. in my humble opinion. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for people who are in love with her. But I wanted Matt Gaetz. I don't know what happened. We'll never know the story there. We don't know if he had the votes, didn't have the votes, whatever deal Pam Bondi had to make to get confirmed. Maybe this is the deal. We don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, like as I mentioned earlier, I think you've already got the people in place that you could do a quick shift and problem resolved.
Or even, two of these Trump guys who were Trump's lawyers who were deputy attorney generals now. They're no-name people with no-name baggage. They defended Trump in court. I forget, there's 2 or 3 of them that he appointed as deputy attorney generals. Move them up as interim attorney general, and we'll deal with it later. Get this thing going already. Make an interim deputy attorney, interim attorney general. Get her out of there.
Yeah.
Sorry, we don't have time. It's not the first administration. This is a ticking clock of 2 years that he's got, and the clock's already running. Because I'm telling you right now, the midterms are going to be a bloodbath.
100%. And he has other issues right now too. So he needs people that aren't going to be a distraction.
Right. She's a distraction. She's going on Fox every fucking day. I mean, first of all, Fox is not his friend. I mean, Fox is not his friend. So the fact that she is on every single Fox show, she's done the entire circuit. I expected to see her on Sunday morning with Maria now. I mean, she's going to run out of Fox shows.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one too. It's like, why not News Nation? Why not this? Why not
right?
that?
Why? And of course, Eric. Of course, it shows you where her gatekeepers are.
Yeah, and even Barnes is trying to give her some charity.
I know he's trying.
But he did say she is a lightweight.
Yeah, I'm not Barnes. I don't need to do that. I don't need to be a dignitary on this thing. I'm just a guy from the street, and she reeks. It's just she reeks. I could tell she's lying, and I'm sorry. There's no reason to be doing this. Just release everything. Get out of the way. I mean, she's making Lunachick, Congresswoman Lunachick look good.
Another Floridian from the swamp. Sorry, I'm just saying it's. I
don't trust Marco Rubio as far as I could see him. That's another one from the swamp of Florida. I'm waiting for that guy to stab Trump in the back like a Pompeo.
In fairness, so he has been doing a good job
for 5 minutes. Yeah, looking for an opening.
Oh, okay.
No, you're too nice, Eric. You're too nice.
Well, a lot of people are waiting for JD Vance to slip, and he's
no. I don't see that coming. I don't see that coming. But Rubio's a snake, bro. I mean, this guy. I'm hoping that Trump keeps him in line, and he just does what Trump wants. But there's some reason that Rubio wanted this job, which is the most powerful job in any administration. There's a reason Hillary Clinton got that job.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of things you can do in there.
Oh, it's a very powerful job,
right?
I mean, you're above the CIA. Well, not anymore.
Right. Well, not anymore, but
yeah.
All right, what do you got now for us?
All right. Well, I mean,
does this sound okay? Do people hear me okay? I just don't want any trouble or anything. Does it sound okay?
Fine.
Okay.
All right. Well, Zelensky wants to come back to the table as of midday today.
Right. Yeah.
He's trying to do a weaselly semi-apology, but not apology. What did he say? It's regrettable that what happened on Friday it is regrettable that it happened this way. It's time to make things right. So he's trying to find a way to slither back in.
Well, it's to slither back in to delay the end of the war. Don't let this rat back in. He got and conspired with the Democrats and with the British and Germans and the French to do some sort of apology, to get back in there, to keep the war going for another 5 minutes or 5 years or 5 months, whatever they can get out of it, by getting back in there and delaying things. Because without him going back in, what happens? Trump cuts off arms, cuts off money, gets on the phone to Vladimir Putin, makes the deal, which is what I'm predicting is going to happen. And Zelensky doesn't have a say in the party. By him coming back, please let me in. I'll apologize and argue with you some more once I get back in there. Trump would be foolish to do this again.
No.
In my humble opinion.
The only way he could be allowed back in the room is he already signed the document.
Okay, sign it. How about sign it and mail it in like everybody else? Yeah. I don't need him in the Oval Office. Sign the document, mail it in, bro. How about this? sign the document, have elections, and get busy campaigning through war-torn Ukraine. It's Western Ukraine that's war-torn. They're still partying in Kiev like it's 1999. Abraham Lincoln had elections during the Civil War, but apparently Zelensky, this guy who plays the piano with his penis, doesn't have the time to run for office because he said, why bother? I would win easily. Well, that's easy to say when you're a dictator and you have martial law. I mean, what a bold statement. I don't need to do it. I would win anyway. Yeah. Holy crap. You got to box this guy out. Just box him out. I think Trump made a Hail Mary. It was an attempt to get a slam dunk right out of the gate and end this thing with Zelensky on board. He got snookered. The British were in on it, obviously. The Democrats.
Worse than that, the Democrats, in the hour before, I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Was it Dick Durbin, I think you put it out, or somebody, who's the Connecticut senator?
Murphy. Chris
Murphy. Murphy put out essentially saying that he told Zelensky not to take the deal on X, and now is trying to backpedal like,
right. I agree, but what I'm saying is you got to box everyone out. Forget about it. You can't be part of the process anymore. Starmer can't be in. The Dems can't be in. It's two guys. It's Trump and Putin. That's it. It's two big superpowers that have to sit down and make a deal here. And whatever happens after that, we get rare earth minerals from the Russians. Putin's apparently quite willing to make a deal with us economically on rare earth minerals. Good. Let's make a deal. Let's set up a border, set up a DMZ, and call it a day. That's it. It's not rocket science. And I'm not saying this myself. I watched Jeffrey Sachs, who I'm no fan of, talking to the EU yesterday for 3 hours, having in front of the EU press, explaining the history of this, which we all are aware of, the history of the Ukraine-Russian problem with NATO, encroachment on NATO, and the whole thing. We don't have to reiterate it here. But Sachs was literally lecturing them and castigating the Europeans over this thing, saying, you're acting like children. And that was his theme for 3 hours yesterday in this press conference, this Q&A that they had in Europe. And it was interesting to watch, and he just lectured them about the history of where he's been and everything between Putin and NATO and everything else. And he also agrees with Trump to disband NATO. He also agrees with Musk about getting rid of NATO. He said it should have been disbanded in 1992, that it's way past. What's that?
There was one other thing that I think they could have done, and we would never have had this problem. Russia asked to join NATO.
Oh, that was weird. Yeah, that was a weird one. I remember.
But if they let Russia join NATO, NATO countries can't attack each other. Again, problem solved. That's them being brought in the fold.
Except that wasn't the problem. The problem was imperialistic encroachment by NATO and us. So you're correct. It was kind of a chess move, by a laughable chess move by the Russians to get into an organization that was no longer doing the thing it said. What's that?
Yeah, right. That was technically not necessary anymore.
Right. I think they proved their point. Their point. But I mean, what Sachs was talking about yesterday was Biden receiving Blinken and Sullivan, who he says are complete morons. He went out of his way to undermine these two guys as being mentally retarded. I mean, I have no idea. I've never met them, but he really went out of his way to undermine them yesterday in this thing. But he was saying that they received, Biden, Blinken, and Sullivan received the thing from the Rand Corporation, a hundreds of page document called How to Annoy Russia. And this was at the beginning. I swear to God, that was the title of the paper, How to Annoy Russia. And they got it at the beginning of the Biden administration. And, well,
they are experts at that. I will give it to them. They've done a great job.
They've done a great job. And anyway, this was the script that they were following, the Biden administration from the Rand Corporation, on how to topple the regime, how to undermine the regime, how to somehow get into Russia, to get these rare earth minerals. And what Sachs said is, you could sign a treaty and get them. You don't have to blow up the freaking world. I mean, this is what Trump wants to do. And these insanely stupid Russophobes, and he says Europe is much more Russophobic. He said Russia is not invading Europe. Stop saying this again to the Europeans. I mean, he said, move NATO out of Brussels. People are conflating the EU with NATO as if it's its army now. Anyway, it was a fascinating 3 hours with Sachs. I'm not a big fan of Sachs because he's obviously a maniac in some other areas that I don't agree with. But in terms of Eastern Europe and Russia stuff, I mean, that's his area of expertise. Sometimes people branch out into areas they don't know anything about. But, putting in 2010, putting the Aegis missiles in Poland and Romania by us might have been a threat, to the Russians. I mean, this is insane. And the American people, and he said, and the Europeans and the European press know absolutely nothing about the history of Ukraine and Russia and NATO. They have been boxed out by the media.
Well, and that's the second thing is I think Trump should get us out of NATO now.
Yeah.
Just pull us out immediately. Germany is saying we need new leaders. They're making all these statements. Starmer saying that. It's like, you know what? You're right. We're leaving Europe. You're on your own, boys. Good luck.
Yeah.
Let's pull our bases out of Germany too.
I agree.
Literally pull out of Europe completely.
I mean, in 2002, we unilaterally pulled out of the ABM treaty and left. Okay. All of these moves that have been made are not because Putin is a thug. Okay. We have made moves that are so egregious in terms of international diplomacy as to box this guy into a corner and just keep squeezing him and missiles right up his goddamn ass. I mean, we're lucky to be alive. Let me put it that way. Any other crazy leader who was in Russia, if it was somebody like Boris Yeltsin, I think he would have launched nuclear weapons at this point, based on the loss of men that they've had, Eric. And now Starmer saying we're going to sue for peace by sending British jets and British soldiers. What kind of crazy?
That's all he has are boots.
No, but he used the word peace twice in his statement. At the same time saying we're going to extend the war, keep fighting to the death. We're sending in British jets and British soldiers, and we're suing for peace. Give peace a chance.
Yeah, well, he's a ridiculous figure already.
Yeah.
And he's just thrilled that there's another topic going on and he doesn't have to deal with Elon climbing his back about investigating certain people in his country, which he's hung out with.
Yeah.
Anybody ever hear Jimmy Savile?
Well, you could go to uk.gov and see
him.
the 100-year deal that he just signed with Zelensky and the British government. If people have, after the show, if you want to go to uk.gov, you could see the deal that he signed on behalf of the British people with Ukraine via Zelensky.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun, but while we're bringing up our friend Barnes, we've got something coming up here.
What is it? What is it?
In April, we got an event.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, he's got this big trial in Seattle. Did you hear him talking about that Seattle trial yesterday?
It sounds horrible.
I know.
I know. Whatever's going on with that guy, it's like, ooh.
Dude, it sounds like, and think about it. There must be so many of these people that it's been done to that nobody knows about. Cases like this guy, apparently some trans kid deal where he's not allowed to see the kid at all. She marries a lesbian who's a radical feminist, and the judge throws the book at him. He can't even see his own kid. Didn't wear a mask in court. They're sentencing him to 20 years in a custody case. I mean, it's just insane. And Barnes is jumping in to help him late in the game here.
Not only that, they wouldn't let him work with Barnes. They kept him locked up so he couldn't meet with Barnes to work as on.
Oh yeah, they put him in solitary confinement in a divorce case. And this is Seattle, by the way, Seattle.
They're charging him with 80 acts of violence toward a child, and the acts of violence are texts.
Yeah, he texted him 80 times trying to see him. I mean, this is the craziest case I've ever heard. And the judge immediately freaked out on Barnes and then went back into her room, came out and reduced the 20 years to 7, realizing she's been caught in a national spotlight now. And Barnes is, I guess, going to try the case on Monday or Friday this week, I guess.
Yeah, Thursday
and Friday.
Yeah, Thursday and then into next week. But yeah, but Barnes, that's his MO. He has talked about it a lot of times. He believes in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
And well, that's smart because I mean, how else can you obviously, if everybody in that area wants this guy locked up, it's like every prosecutor, every cop, he went against the system. He pissed them all off.
Yeah.
And you've got to get visibility from the outside.
Yeah,
where
from the outside world.
to look
It's insane.
embarrassed.
This is an insane city. This is worse than LA. It's worse than New York. Nobody ever focuses on it except what's his face, Jason Rance, who's been a guest on the show, who's got a radio show up there, and he's been on Fox.
And Andy No, I think, does.
And Andy No, there's two cats. One's out of Portland, the other's out of actually Seattle. They're apparently the two Walter Cronkites of the region in their war zone there. But let's just a second on the Barnes thing. There's tickets available. We're going to be in Vegas April 12th. This is a Saturday night. Hunley already has the trophy, which he's going to get as a friend of America's Untold Stories. He will be the first American ever to receive it. The first recipient, apparently, we didn't realize was not an American. So Robert Barnes will be receiving. We got tricked by a wily barrister out of Montreal. So Barnes will be the first American to receive it. It'll be in Frank Sinatra's favorite restaurant in Las Vegas, April 12th, Saturday night. Tickets are available. We'd like to see you all. Bring your conspiratorial stuff. Bring your books. Bring your mother. You can wear whatever you want. Dress like Fetterman. Who cares?
Everybody does ask about the dress code. In general, I mean, like a business casual. Most people wear jeans, a polo. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I wear a sport coat, a jacket, a suit, whatever, but you could come whatever you want. It's a nice restaurant. I mean, it really is a nice restaurant. So we're going to have, there's a bar, and we'll have a show where we'll get up on a dais, and reports coming out of Florida. Dateline, Boca Viva has announced he will be coming with his son, Mini Viva. So the four of us will be on a panel together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, everybody, consider checking it out.
Check it out.
Available. You can point your phone right at the screen. That'll
right
take
there.
You, boom, right to the link. Or
that'll give you everything right in that little squid box there, whatever that is.
Yep. It's a miracle of technology. Again, everybody's watching on TVs now. So
you can do that on TV too. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You point it at the TV. That way you don't.
It's freaky. It's freaky, bro.
Don't even have to worry about it. It's handy.
You know what's so funny when those schizophrenic people would always say the TV was talking to them. What did they do before TV was invented? The radio was talking to them.
Probably, or God.
Okay, all right, that's a good answer.
I mean,
there's
always been people hearing voices sometimes.
Right, but it must have been like the radio fireside chats of FDR, and then it graduated to TV.
Right, but now we've got issues with Vanna syndrome where it's actual voices injected into people's heads to the point of causing physical damage. I mean, like nerves getting shot and people going blind in an eye, and it's kind of some
we didn't have a chance to say goodbye to Clint Hill last week. I just wanted to give a shout out because I didn't want to say something ill about the dead. I think that people were asking me why I didn't say anything, because I didn't want to. It's one of those things you don't want to speak ill. The guy just passed away, but
sure.
There's four guys. I mean, there was Bennett, and there was Landis, and there was Hill, and a guy named Reddy. This was in the cellar. These are the guys drinking moonshine. They were the last guys to leave, and he was one of them. Clint Hill. He was one of the four.
Oh, he wasn't. I'm confused. Okay.
No, he was literally one of the last ones to leave. There were two others stayed a little bit longer than him. But he was in the cellar drinking Everclear, and whatever he did on that day, he couldn't have been in his best physical shape based on what they consumed that night in the cellar. And on top of that, he has contradicted himself 1 million freaking times to the Warren Commission and to the House Assassinations Committee with different stories. He has been all over the map in terms of honesty and recollections and testimony, different documentaries saying different things his entire life. I'm not a fan of Clint Hill, so I didn't want to say anything. If you want to go to Vince Palomara's video stuff on YouTube, and Vince will get into exact details of Clint Hill's lying through the years. I don't know.
Well, they were at a war with each other.
Yeah.
Clint and Vince
so that's why I didn't want to just say something stupid. He had just passed away, so I saved it for today. But again, the last four guys who were in the cellar, were most likely involved. And keep in mind, not one of LBJ's guys was in the cellar that night. Remember that, folks. They were only JFK's guys who were in the cellar, and they were laughing. First of all, some of them lost their guns, lost their IDs, but they were laughing because they left JFK in the hotel in Fort Worth, guarded by fire department men, and cut out and went to the cellar. First went to the Fort Worth Press Club, and then the cellar after that.
Yeah, my thought is, afterward, he's done everything possible to burn down his legacy. It did seem to me on that day he did do his job, and I want to give credit. He ran into the fire, not out of it. So I do want to give at least basic credit.
You could give him all the credit you want, but he was assigned to Jackie Kennedy, who was not shot in the head.
Right.
So he was doing his job with Jackie Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is true, and he did do his job. I just always want to acknowledge if somebody did do their job or didn't do their job.
Well, you don't know. You don't know if he did his job because the guy next door got shot in the head. So we don't really know, But anyway, enough with Clint Hill. He's gone. Rest in peace. Good luck to you wherever you end up going. We'll be doing a thing on Mark Lane, who is no fan of Clint Hill, in a couple of weeks, and I'll get into it again. Just wanted to acknowledge that. And as long as we're dealing with pop culture, there's a couple of things I wanted to get into. One was the situation with Gene Hackman and his wife. And I'll just give you my take on the thing because not everyone knows everything about this thing. Ironically, I had to watch the Baldwins last night, episode 2. It's episodic, Eric.
Right, but okay, go for it.
Yeah, no, this is what I do. This is why I'm me and you're you, because I have the internal fortitude to watch garbage. Anyway, he's going to Santa Fe last night in episode 2 to stand trial. And we remember the sheriff who was there was this guy who is now involved in the Gene Hackman case, who is now dragging his feet, saying it's going to take 8 months to get the toxicology reports and to resolve this stuff. But my take on it, for what it's worth, was that Hackman collapsed in the mudroom in the back of the house there and died.
Yeah, Bondi said it appeared that he might have had a heart attack.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. And I think the wife went in, took some pills, and committed harry-carry in the bathroom. That's my complete take on it. So I think it's a one half of a double harry-carry. I think she found him and said, I can't live without him, which is not uncommon when couples have been together that long. And I think the dog just got locked in the closet. He passed away from dehydration and food. The other 2 dogs were fine. They were going in and out. The door was open. And that's just my take on the Hackman thing. Randy Quaid has a completely different take, which is murder of celebrities in Hollywood.
Everybody. Yeah, like a
everyone.
longer list.
Yeah, he's got a whole long list.
Everybody I ever knew has been murdered.
Right. But that being said, a number of years ago, like 20 years ago, Gene Hackman made a video saying, if I die, keep in mind, I could have been murdered. There's a guy murdering celebrities who are Hollywood celebrities. Hackman made a video himself, which Quaid is hip to. So I just think he was 95 and probably had a heart attack and collapsed. And then she found him and decided to take herself out, is just my take on it at this time.
And that was Bondi getting involved. And Bodden's pretty solid.
He's a corrupt crook. He's taken money from every single documentary ever made. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to contradict you, but he's a crook. He's a crook.
All right.
He has no hands-on operation here with this thing. He's just he'll be in some documentary series on Hackman's murder. But I just want to get back to the Oscars, which we left off the other day. We didn't have the Oscars until Sunday, right?
You had them, yes.
Okay, so I have to watch them by law. Hunley, again, no responsibility. He can have his grill stream. He can cook his prawns on a barbecue and make barbecued swordfish like he does. But I, having one foot in Hollywood and living here for so long, I'm forced by city. Oh, by the way, Karen Bass recall started this afternoon. So for people who are asking about the recall of Karen Bass, I just signed up for it. You have to have a certain amount of money and blah, blah, blah. But they launched it this afternoon, so it's underway. Okay, about the Oscars. I just want to give you my take on the Oscars. Let's take a look at what's his name, Conan O'Brien. Should be made permanent host. Absolutely brilliant performance by Conan O'Brien. I was stunned of how great he was. I had forgotten Conan O'Brien. Haven't seen him in years. The smoothest I've seen anybody hosting since Billy Crystal. If they don't make him permanent host, they're mentally retarded with these different people every year and sweating it and everything else. He was so smooth. He wrote his own jokes because he's a joke writer and a comic himself. And he was so comfortable doing this. There wasn't one mistake he made the entire night. It was funny. He was spot on. It wasn't political. And he was hilarious and smooth as silk.
He's a legit talent, so I'm not
legit. I had forgotten, Eric, how good Conan O'Brien was. That made it worthwhile to watch. Now, that being said, the winners and losers, there's nothing you could do about it. I mean, it's just crazy time. The Brutalist is unwatchable. This Honora is unwatchable. The fact that this guy won every single award for Honora, which is really a film about a sex worker, you know, and it goes from drama to comedy to screwball comedy back to drama. I mean, it's just all over the map. I mean, there's a scene where she's getting smacked around in this house in Brooklyn. It's set in Coney Island, by the way, so there's a lot of things that I remember in the background there. But she's getting smacked around by a couple of mobsters, and the scene goes on, and it's supposed to be a comedy. All of a sudden, she's getting hit and smacked around, and they're trying to hold her down while they're looking for her boyfriend, and goes on for 35 minutes. The entire movie grinds to a halt at the 40-minute mark, and for 35 minutes, they're wrestling her in the house, smashing things. She's angry. She's fighting, trying to escape. And it's supposedly a comedy at that point, but it didn't start out that way. Sean Baker is the director. He edited it. He produced it. He wrote it. He's done a couple of little films before the Florida Project, Tangerine, kind of an indie darling. Tarantino showed up, gave him an award. However, all the eggs went into that basket. And none of the other people nominated, none of the projects nominated won really anything. And the reason is their guidelines, Eric. These guidelines that the Oscars have now are so draconian, and I just wanted to explain them to people so they understand why your favorite film, and mine was Nosferatu this year, with Johnny Depp's daughter. It's a period piece, 1839, set in Germany with the vampire, beautifully shot, beautifully acted. It had Willem Dafoe in it and, you know, a bunch of Romanians. It won absolutely nothing. And I'm going to explain why. The Brutalist really just wins for Adrian Brody, a completely unwatchable film. I'll just tell you this about The Brutalist, and then you could watch it at home. I'll just give you one scene of The Brutalist. Adrian Brody plays this guy, Laszlo Tav, who is a real guy in real life. Laszlo Toth was a crazy person who destroyed art in Rome he had like messianic visions or something and started smashing up Michelangelo's art in Rome, having nothing to do with this movie. That's the name of this character. And he is a junkie, the Brody character, and he's an architect, and he survives the Holocaust, and he comes to Pittsburgh, and blah, 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 blah. He gets taken under his wing by Guy Pearce, who is a billionaire, who is going to allow him to build structures. And anyway, they're having a party in Rome, and Brody leaves, and he's high as a kite, and he goes down some little alleyway, and he's just shooting dope on the floor of this little alleyway, just shooting dope. And
careful on how you describe things.
I know, that's why I'm thinking. I don't know how to describe this, but I have to go on. So
he's assaulted.
No, he's not. No, it wasn't an assault at all. But Guy Pearce comes in and anally does something to him that he just comes out of nowhere, just absolutely nowhere. Anyway, the film's unwatchable. It's over 3.5 hours long, completely meandering, crazy. They're comparing it to great films. They're out of their minds. But this Honora thing is a piece of crap. Also, the Dylan film completely shut out. James Mangold, who has made billions for Hollywood, completely shut out of the awards. The acting was shut out. The music was shut out. Didn't win anything. And it was completely normal, great watching film, looked great soundtrack, got absolutely nothing. I'm going to tell you why. This is where I'm going with this thing. These here, I am holding the rules. These are the rules, Hunley. of the Academy of how you are allowed to get an Oscar nomination for your film. I'll just read a couple of these, and you can see it up on the screen there. The film, the significant supporting actors from underrepresented racial and ethnic groups. This is what your film has to have. African Americans, East Asian, Hispanics, Indigenous people, Middle Easterners, Pacific Islanders, South Asian people, people from Guam. And then, if that's not good enough, the general ensemble cast has to have at least 30% of all its actors from at least 2 underrepresented groups, which may include women, racial or ethnic groups, LGBTQ, LMNOP, people with cognitive or physical disabilities, or deaf or hard of hearing. That's 30% of your actors have to be in those groups. An incredible combination necessary. The main storyline, this is the one that bothers me the most, Eric. The subject matter of your film to be considered for an Oscar, the main storyline, theme, or narrative is centered on either women, racial, ethnic groups, LGBTQ, or people with cognitive or physical disabilities.
So they cannot be normal. It cannot be a normal person.
Well, forget about the person. I'm talking about the subject of the film, the plot, Eric. The plot.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Right, the plot. Forget about the quota. The quota's a quota. I get quotas. The plot of the film, the narrative of the film has to be centered on an underrepresented group. So you make a film like Nosferatu, and it's about vampires, doesn't have a chance to even get nominated.
But I thought vampires were underrepresented.
They are, because they don't consider them to be existing anymore. But
I would argue that. I would say, hey, wait a minute. You're singling out. Have some fun with it. They could have a film on Satanists. I bet that'll fly.
I wouldn't be surprised on that. But the quotas, plus you have to have stacked voting, 1 through 10. So you put number 1 is Honora, and then it goes down from there. But I just want to get into this one thing, and then I'll leave the Oscars alone until next year. They forgot Michelle Trachtenberg, of course, in memoriam. They did Gene Hackman. How you left out Michelle Trachtenberg, of course, is bizarre. She just died the same time as Gene Hackman. That's their own problem. They do it every year.
Even, wasn't it?
Right. Literally. So I don't know how you do this. But Adrian Brody gave a speech that was so self-indulgent, so crazy, so selfish. And he went on and on and on. But when he goes up to the stage, he gets nominated, he wins the thing, they call him to come up. He makes about 30 steps between the first row and the stage, and he's chewing gum. And he pulls the gum out of his mouth and flips it in midair to his girlfriend, who catches the gum like she was catching his garbage in midair, throws this gum, instead of just putting it in his pocket or throwing it on the stairs or whatever, he flips it to her and she catches it. Now, that's a little weird. I don't know, what to make of it, except the woman who catches it is, I don't even know how to say this, so I'm just going to tell you, has 2 kids, and he thanks the 2 kids. Maybe you could show a picture of her there. Yeah, this is his wife. I don't think he's married to her. I think she's still his girlfriend. Okay. But she was married for 5 years a couple of minutes ago, and she has 2 kids that Adrian Brody was talking about in his acceptance speech. And I thought the 2 kids were his with her, but they're not. They belong to a guy named Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was her husband for over 5 years before he went to prison, and has 2 kids with her that now call Adrian Brody daddy. In one of the craziest movie Hollywood stories ever, Harvey Weinstein had an issue a statement from Rikers Island after the Oscars saying he's thankful. And then this Halle Berry thing, Halle Berry gives him a kiss like she hadn't seen him in 40 years, tongue kissing this guy for about 10 minutes, because in 2003, when he won for The Pianist, he kissed her after winning that award because she had been the presenter. So this was a reenactment of the kiss from The Pianist when he won the first time 20 years ago, after doing some of the worst films ever made for 20 years. Adrian Brody's completely sabotaging his own career. But nevertheless, the fact that Harvey Weinstein had to issue a statement from Rikers Island saying he's glad that somebody's raising his kids while he's battling it out in Rikers Island at the age of 72. I mean, there's so many weird story angles to this Oscars. I just wanted to touch base on some of them. and give the audience a little bit of an inside look of what's going on here in Hollywood with these Oscars. There's more, but it would be inappropriate on this show.
And let me see, the pianist, he was playing in a movie that was directed by another very controversial figure. So he seems to be attracted to them or
yeah, I mean,
nearby.
This Corbett who did this film has every single, I'll just give you what's in there. The wife shows up from Europe finally in the movie. In the second half of the movie, there's an intermission for half an hour. In the second half of the movie, his wife finally shows up, and guess what? She's in a wheelchair, and she brings with her her niece. Guess what? She's mute and deaf. No, I swear to God, his sidekick in the movie, in the middle of Pennsylvania, is a guy from North Africa who's living in a shelter in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, and he's from Nigeria. You can't make this up, Hunley. And he's got a kid who's also from Africa. Just to meet some of these quota things.
You got to give it to them.
Yep. Oh, dude.
They read it. I mean, it was like,
yep.
It's like he took the manual and said, okay, let's start writing.
Slap her in a wheelchair. Later on, she gets out of the wheelchair. It's just to cover the quota. And later on, the deaf mute speaks. She was just deaf for a couple of scenes.
Oh, I love that.
Dude, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant by this guy, Corbett.
If it was a decent movie, it would actually be funny.
I know. I thought the same thing because she shows up in a wheelchair. I'm going like, was she going to be in a wheelchair the rest of this movie? This is insane. And of course, she's walking later in the picture. They said, fuck it, get her out of the wheelchair. And then I said, how long can she be a deaf mute? She's smoking hot. And of course, after a while, she starts speaking.
Well, I'll give credit for that.
I got to give the guy credit. I mean,
you know what that makes me think of? You know the joke behind Bob and Doug McKenzie, right? From SCTV?
I don't know. Oh, maybe I heard it. I don't remember.
Okay, well, in SCTV, because it's Canadian, they had standards that all shows in Canada had to represent Canada for X amount of time.
Yeah.
So they were so pissed off about it, they said, okay, we're going to represent the worst stereotypes of Canada with these two characters. They hung out at the end and then they recorded them. And that was the most popular thing done on SCTV. It was done to say, up yours to Canada requirements.
Now, just to close out some more pop culture, apparently out of the blue, I don't even know why this happened. Donald Trump has said that he is now going to pardon Pete Rose. Pete Rose, who was banned from baseball for life, was convicted as a felon for tax evasion in 1990. I don't know why Trump feels necessary to pardon Pete Rose, but he has pardoned other sports legends before. This is a thing with Trump, and we've discussed Pete Rose on this show, so I won't get into my take on Pete Rose.
Did he do Jack Johnson, or was that?
He did Jack Johnson, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. And Pete Rose, one the greatest player of all time, no doubt about it. Until Ohtani, you could kiss my ass now. I'll be going down Friday to Phoenix to watch Ohtani and the Dodgers, by the way. But up until Ohtani, one of the greatest players of all time. However, was an addictive gambler and an addictive coke addict, and did a lot of shady things that I won't get into in details here to infuriate the Cincinnati Red fans. But apparently Trump is now going to pardon him. So I just thought I'd put that out there. That's if you think that Rose should be unbanned from baseball, put it down below in the comment section. If you believe that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, put it down in the comment section. Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame. Keep that in mind, people. It's a lot of people who are not in the Hall for things that they did who have the stats to be in the Hall. So comment down below your opinion.
And by the way, those of you who are asking about O.J. Simpson, that was a state crime. Trump can't pardon him.
Oh yeah, right. I don't
even if you meant it as a joke.
I don't even think
it's
he would,
still. I don't think he would either. But I'm just saying.
Did you hear about BlackRock buying the Panama Canal this afternoon for $22 billion? Or am I imagining this?
No, I saw it earlier. They work with a conglomerate of other people to buy it, which could be seen as good as putting it in American hands.
Right.
It's taking the control away from the Chinese, and it is quasi-American control.
Right.
I'm not in love with BlackRock for obvious reasons.
Well, it's better than Shanghai or Chi-Rock.
Yeah. So I again, that's why I said.
Okay, now what's going to happen when they go into Fort Knox, in your humble opinion?
I don't know.
Either do I.
Well, because, and I don't know what would be. Let's say there's nothing there.
Yeah.
That's a complete nightmare.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would want to report it. That actually could be a national security concern because of the panic of holy shit, there's no gold. What do you do in that case? I don't know.
Well, you people can comment down below. Will there be gold in Fort Knox? Comment down below your opinion, because maybe we'll find out. Like Eric said, it's a nightmare if it's not in there, right, Eric? Or
yeah, I'm yes.
I mean, is there
stored with the Epstein file somewhere? God only knows.
Is there a number that says something that's supposed to be in there, like an amount?
I would imagine so, because before we left the gold standard, we had the gold there, I thought, but that would be an interesting thing. What if it hasn't been there for 100 years?
What if it was shipped out on pallets to Iraq during the Iraq War?
It's possible. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Now, it could have been distributed to other areas in the country, different mints or whatever, but I don't know.
Okay, so what do you make of these stories? Not stories, it's actually a fact of these MQ-9 Reapers that are flying over Mexico now by the CIA 2 or 3 times a day, 7 days a week, looking for drug cartels. And we have sent troops down into Mexico. This is what I said in a fantasy on this show almost a year and a half ago. This was my fantasy of invading Mexico to do battle with the drug cartels and making up a movie about it, which I talked about last week. Apparently now this fantasy movie idea of mine is coming true. They've sent 2,500 either Green Beret or special forces down into Mexico. We're sending flights of Reaper drones over Mexico every single day, working with Mexico to target.
To target the cartels. Mexico said, "Come help us out." I'm all for it. Yeah,
they're in on it to target the cartels. I did not see this coming. I mean, I fantasized about it and talked about it on this show, but holy crap, this is better than I imagined.
Well, that's what some of the tariffs were about initially. I think it was to pressure them into allowing us to
but I think
that and ask for the help.
The key was how quickly and I didn't understand why he did it at the time. He made the drug cartels a terrorist organization, and that allowed the legality of going after them because he declared them terrorist organizations.
Makes sense.
Yeah. This is great. This is freaking great, Eric.
Yeah, and if Mexico's involved, then all the better. I'm thrilled to death because that would be my concern. It's like the idea of going into the country if we're not welcome for whatever, be us or not, that's a problem.
No, they're cooperating. I mean, it's I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but right now they're sending drones over every single day.
No, we could do a lot of damage while they're cooperating, and even if they pull back, the problem though is Mexico's so corrupt that even if you take out the top cartels, are there plenty there to fill them right back in? Are there plenty of psychopaths to take over again? I don't know. How do you stabilize?
I don't know, but it's kind of like killing 007. He'll be replaced by 008. I think is what you're implying.
Yes.
Which was weird because Barbara Broccoli was at the Oscars and they gave her a send-off like, thanks for helping us for 35, 40 years with Bond. And they showed a montage of Bond, but she sold it for $1 billion to Jeff Bezos. And what's his name does a sketch, Conan O'Brien, where Bezos gets delivered to the Oscars in a box by an Amazon delivery guy. And he's in a box, or at least he's supposed to be in a box. And you see the event through a Ring camera, and some guy comes up and steals the box, like a porch pirate. And Conan's going, "No, that's Bezos. Don't take that box." And they showed an empty seat in the audience. It was brilliant. It was really brilliant.
Funny.
Very funny. Very funny. But
I read something on that they were like, we can't work with these people, and they were essentially just pressured out. They're like, just give us the money.
Who are you talking
about? Amazon. Well, when Amazon bought MGM,
broccoli. You're talking about the broccoli thing. Yeah.
Amazon were just like psychopaths to
Yeah.
him, and they were like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take the money. Yeah, well, fine.
Yeah,
Just pay
but
us. I quit.
people are upset that she sold out, and here they were feeding her for essentially selling out the franchise to Amazon.
Mhm.
It was a weird twist. It was a weird twist. I mean, because they're really pro cinema, and here she's selling the greatest, most famous franchise in film history to a streaming service that couldn't care less about streaming. They just want you to stay on their webpage, Hunley, right?
Well, but Amazon's funding a lot of this trash that you're seeing now.
They're gonna trash Bond, and that's the end
And
of Bond.
they're the wokest group. I mean, they've trashed Lord of the Rings, another
Yep,
great
yep.
franchise. They're screwing over Bosch, which is infuriating. You know, go to Amazon where franchises can go to die.
Well, speaking of boxes, apparently some boxes were brought back to Mar-a-Lago this afternoon from the Justice Department.
That was funny.
Yeah,
Because it is his files.
yeah.
In the end,
And
ultimately, his files, they need to return them.
wow,
Very,
wow! I
very
saw them loading them off a plane in Florida. That's great. Oh, goes around, comes around. By the way, Doge.gov is the place to go, according to Musk, if you want to follow along at home. There's just a website called Doge.gov where you can follow all the corrupt and crazy things that he finds on that website.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know
you
about
can
it.
also follow the Doge account. That's always posted.
Right.
all the time
Okay.
if you're
But there's
on
like an
Twitter.
official government website thing, right? Doge.gov.
Yeah, and it's an official government
Right.
X account. All of that. All
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I highly recommend the Rogan Musk thing from 4 days ago. It's 3 hours, but you can watch it in pieces. Absolutely brilliant. Talks about the trip to Mars in detail. I had no idea the physics of how this is going to work. Musk goes into extreme detail of how we're getting to Mars. These million pound payloads that he's going to ship, how it's going to take 6 months to get there. It's going to start launching I mean, he's ready to go. I mean, this is not a pipe dream. He is ready to launch. He says it's in a year or 2, 3 years, we're going. He's ready to launch the payloads of these prefab structures that will be assembled on Mars, and then people will follow. And his answer for doing it is simply, to sum it up, and it's a great interview just about Mars, we need a backup planet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, but the
100%
way he frames the argument is, he says, the population decline, a nuclear war, or some ecological disaster,
asteroid.
or he mentions asteroid. He says you just can't depend on survival willy-nilly. He says anything can happen.
Yeah.
It's a great explanation that he gives, as he sums it up saying we need a backup planet. And he's doing it. He's freaking doing it.
What is the travel time for people getting back? and
6
forth?
months. 6 months.
That's a lot shorter than I realized.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know that.
Okay. So when does he anticipate actually sending people
Within
there?
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, you got to watch the interview. I mean,
That's
it's just
aggressive.
he's super aggressive on this thing because of his children and because of what he's seen, potential World War III. I mean, this has motivated him even more to begin building these structures on Mars.
Is he looking at doing biospheres?
He didn't say biosphere, and everything is going to be automated. In other words, he's not controlling it from Earth. It's not like with the moon landing where they're sitting there in Apollo control in Houston. He said this is all going to be self-contained, where it's already programmed to go there. If that makes any sense.
No, it does, but there's so many intangibles. Like, I don't know if you remember I'm from Arizona, and we had the biosphere there in Tucson, and that was a complete failure. They had to give it up.
He didn't get into the biosphere. He's got some other prefab housing that he didn't get into. He was more concerned with the one problem he's dealing with, and that is tiles. The reentry tiles, burning up tiles, replacing tiles, external things of the ship. Because he says, if his number one thing, if he can come up with replaceable or tiles that don't burn up, on reentry, it would reduce his costs 1,000% in terms of using the same ship immediately to keep sending cargo, Eric.
Well, right, sure.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, no, dude, I highly recommend Rogan and Musk this week.
I'm very excited that Joy Reid is gone.
However,
well, we knew that was what the hell is this not going to come up? Okay, there we go. Out with the old boss, in with the new boss.
yeah, this is about as normal as he's ever looked. And I've seen him on I want to say Meet the Press or some of these shows. He does work for Politico, Politico veteran. I don't know about veteran, but he does have a straight job. And I say straight job, tongue in cheek, because there's other pictures of him.
Yeah, he's a very notorious Trump hater.
Very notorious Trump hater. And I think he played in the NFL, oddly enough, as a defensive end. But here his usually how he dresses. He dresses like he's on Star Trek. And he's got all kinds of crazy outfits, bro. Yeah, look at this one. Look at this. This is how he goes to work. In fact, he's outside of a stadium there. I don't know if this is him tailgating at a Rams game or something, but
stunning and brave. Just remember that.
He's going to have a show, and here's him. This is him jogging.
Yeah, what was he called? Queen something or another? I think
I don't know, but anyone who thinks that MSNBC is throwing in the woke towel may want to look at this new hire.
Yep. You go, girl. All right.
You go, Duckov.
That's the new staff. Good times all around. Anyway, yeah. Well, he's only one of them, if I recall. Isn't she being replaced by whatever he is and also a Latino and Michael Steele?
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I heard Michael Steele. I heard that.
Right. I think it's 3 people are supposed to be replacing her, and that he's one. Michael Steele and
maybe it'll be a panel show.
Latina.
It'll be a panel show, Eric. Maybe.
I guess.
Instead of a bald-headed black woman ranting and raving.
Yes.
Okay.
That she's so obnoxious it takes 3 people to fill that void.
To calm it down.
Yep.
He's speaking tonight after the show, Trump, and it's not the State of the Union; it's a joint address to Congress. However, they have vowed to disrupt it, the Democrats. So I don't know. I don't know how you combat this, but I would definitely search them before they went in there, because they're claiming they're going to bring in noisemakers and various things to physically disrupt the speech. Do you just sit back and do nothing, Eric?
Technically, the Republicans are doing that shit too. Remember, you lie, and standing up and making noise. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Boebert, didn't they do that routine?
Okay, well, what do you think he should do? Nothing.
Just haul them out. They don't. If you cause a ruckus in a bar, you get dragged out.
That's what I would do. That's a good answer. That's where I was going.
Was it Jasmine Crockett and Maxine Waters?
Drag them out.
Her frail old bones out.
Drag them out. Yeah, she tried to get into HUD today. Again, one of these stunts. I don't know what they're trying to achieve. The entire country is in favor of this. They've got these phony AstroTurf town hall meetings in Northern California and up in Massachusetts, where these Democrats are coming in dressed as Republicans to heckle Republican representatives of that district, if that makes any sense. They've been outed as an AstroTurf group. We talked about this on Friday, I think, with the 2 getting money from George Soros.
Well, again, you know who they are. They put out, these people are doing it. Plant people around them.
Yeah.
The second they do it, just, ma'am. And then just stand there and just drag them while they kicking, screaming, looking stupid.
Yeah.
Give them their moment. And then Trump can make some good jokes at them.
I know. I think he should have some heckles prepared.
I think
he should have some things ready to go, I think.
I think so. You know what do we have ready to go? Let's do some super chats.
Okay. And then later we could show that what happened in the Serbian Congress is what I was leading up to.
Yeah. Fletcher Boy, release the jumbo files. Eric, boxers or briefs? Okay, that's a Clinton question. I don't get the context. Interesting. Diffuse 56 gifted 5 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we appreciate. Tom Forsyth. It's the Lucy and Football Show starring Pam Bondi.
I said she should be replaced by Pam Grier, which people got a kick out of. A tougher Pam, just a little bit more aggressive Pam.
Sure. How about a deep dive on the Nugent Hand Bank?
Is that an American story?
I don't know.
Sounds like a Chinese kind of story.
Or Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that is. Okay. Traffic. I'm not familiar with this account. Gifted
he's
memberships.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Oh, by the way, Andrew Cuomo back in the news.
Well, he's going to be mayor, right?
I assume he's going to be mayor. I mean, Greg Kelly did an entire episode destroying him last night, showing us the history that we forgot of Andrew Cuomo, going further back than even before COVID. I mean, he did such a hatchet job on Cuomo last night. And I'm hearing from intelligence sources that a number of years ago, he got into a fight with a guy in a bar in Queens, and it spilled out into the street. And the victim got hit by a city bus and killed.
Wait, that was Andrew and not Chris?
Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, this was a number of years ago. He got into a fist fight with a guy in a bar. They took it outside, and the guy got run over by a bus and killed. Wow. And the NYPD had to cover it up.
I've never heard about that.
Yeah. I got it from some police intel sources in New York.
Gee, I wonder who.
The sources seem pretty confident, but I'm hearing that the Attorney General Letitia James may be hearing from the Department of Justice in Washington very shortly regarding some of her activities. Let me just put it that way.
Good. I think that's great.
If this Pam Bondi gets off her fat ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? Kash Patel would be doing the investigation first. So he can do a lot, and then it handing it over.
Right. But keep in mind, he is absolutely powerless, Kash Patel. Everything he does has got to go through Pam Bondi. He could go to her with 20 potential grand juries, and she could quietly say no to every single one. Yeah. I mean, think about that. I mean, that's the reality of it. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Kash Patel could be the greatest investigator, call for a grand jury, and she says, "No, I don't think so. We're going to look deeper into it and take our time, and maybe next year."
Well, and you know what? And that's why I'm glad, because I think he's the guy who fired Dennehy or whatever. While he's in the FBI, he can at least be doing that, firing bad people, forcing retirements, relocating them. No, I mean relocating them to different parts of the country. So at least he can be doing some good there. I agree with you about Bondi. I'm just trying to think,
Yeah, no, I'm just saying you don't realize that she cock blocks anything he does externally. Any grand jury he wants to bring up to have someone indicted from an investigation can be stopped by Pam Bondi. He can't do anything on his own other than what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. This is true. Oh, hey, somebody just bought a ticket, according to Leslie, for the event in April.
Oh, great.
So while we've been sitting here, smart people, I wonder if they use their phone.
They probably did that Q thing.
Yeah, the QR code. Andrea said, send in Geraldo. So
they may open that vault and there'll be nothing in there, or less than the amount, or who the hell knows what's in there. Yeah, Geraldo, he's referring to the Al Capone special, I think it was ABC News, that went into Al Capone's vault, and there was nothing in there.
Well, it's a bottle of wine.
There was a bottle of wine, right?
The most expensive bottle of wine in the world, because they pumped that damn show for like a month.
Yeah.
Oh, in 3 weeks, we're going to be going in. But speaking of a disappointing individual, there is one guy who's an absolute putz anymore. Geraldo. Have you seen him lately?
Oh, I mean, he's been a putz for. Didn't he get into a fight with Bongino?
Probably a verbal spat. I don't know if physical. He'd get his clock cleaned, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. What is with the mayor of Boston? I mean, this guy goes into Chick-fil-A and he's stabbing people with a knife at Chick-fil-A in Boston, and this off-duty cop identifies himself as a cop and tells him to drop the weapon. He refuses and kills him. She comes out and has a press conference and says, our hearts go out to the family of the killer, and we must feel for the family of the deceased. And everyone's like stunned. And apparently, this is the mayor of Boston. It just boggles the mind. I mean, this heroic cop trying to get a Chick-fil-A sandwich has to kill a man who's stabbing people in Chick-fil-A in Boston.
Yeah. Well, this is the same mayor that's protecting illegals.
Yeah.
Remember, she was
she's also the same mayor who has been forced to testify next week before the House's Oversight Committee.
That
Judiciary Committee, I think.
Wait a minute. Is she also...
She's testifying.
No, she might be under investigation.
Yeah, she is.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say she's really well, I mean, just the opposite coast. Yeah. What is it? It's like the more racist San Francisco, they say.
I don't know how Boston got so freaky. I really don't. I don't know how Maine got that freaky. I don't know how any of these places got that freaky. San Francisco, the heir to the Levi Jeans fortune is now the mayor. And he has ordered them to come back to work for 4 days, and they're having a complete meltdown in San Francisco. City employees.
Now, he seemed to actually be a vast improvement.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
But here he is not even saying 5 days a week. Come back to work 4 days. They can't do it. I don't understand. You don't have a moral leg or an economic leg to stand on. It's the same with these emails that Musk is now demanding that, again, that you send in an email that you're alive, and then just having a freaking meltdown. What is the problem with these emails?
I don't know, but you're a San Francisco guy. I mean, you could use that as an opportunity. Like, okay, if you don't come into the office, you're terminated. And they use it to shrink your head count. I mean,
I think this Doge thing has begun to leak into other areas of the country.
Which,
there's people
by the
begging.
way, happens.
Yeah, no, the people begging for it in LA now. Conservative commentators are going, please Doge us here, because this thing's got so many stolen money hideouts, and people going to jail for stealing stuff. He'd have a field day here. He needs like local Doge operators, I think.
It's funny. There's a pattern of behavior that when Elon Musk does something, because remember when he took over Twitter, they talked about how he's destroying the company and all this. It was a horrible thing. Meanwhile, everything he did at Twitter, Facebook, and everybody else, and Google quietly did internally themselves. So it's sort of funny how he goes out there, he gets all the heat for doing things, but secretly everybody wants to do the same thing, and they wind up copying him.
Yeah, it is kind of shocking. And one thing I didn't understand was he's not just the wealthiest man in the world at $400 billion. He's almost twice the sheer wealth over the second one, who's Jeff Bezos, at like 200 billion.
Well, Bezos would have more if he didn't have the divorce.
Right. But I'm saying he's not. It's so funny because these people are going, yeah, he's stealing the money for himself, which of course is absurd, insane. But the fact is, he's not just one of the wealthiest people in the world, and he's not just the wealthiest person in the world. He's twice the wealth of the second guy, who's Jeff Bezos, who is now on board with Trump somewhat. Zuckerberg's in the top 5. He's on board with Trump. You've got Musk on board, and Larry Ellison is in that group, right, Eric? And he's kind of on board. They are up against quite a formidable team, the Democrats, when it comes to the midterms. Let me just put it that way.
Think about this for a second. All of them were Democrat operators.
Absolutely.
It's all people that change team. It's like, the Democrats are like, we need to have a Democrat Joe Rogan. You had him. His name was Joe Rogan.
Well, Musk talks to Joe Rogan about this. He says, there's tens of thousands of people online who are threatening to kill me and do things to my body. And he said, it's quite scary. And he says, 5 minutes ago, I was their hero. He said, I'm the same exact guy. And he's not exaggerating.
No,
he said,
no,
5 minutes ago, I was
car.
the hero. He says, I didn't change my skin or stripes or anything. He says they've gone berserk.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then that's something you would argue. Because I don't know if your politics are that far different than they were.
No, they're not. They're really not. And he's arguing the same thing. I mean, it's like a David Horowitz argument, that, or even a Dershowitz argument now,
or Bill Maher,
or Bill Maher argument, although he's still got a foot back in there.
Well, he's always going to be an asshole every other day. So.
Right, but I mean, I
was going to say, how about a Bill Maher Scott Adams showdown?
Oh, that would be hard to watch. The battle of the network contrarians, you're saying.
Exactly.
The two yeah, they go, I disagree with you, but I agree with you on that, but I disagree with you on I'm against myself on this one.
Right. Or you know what, or put either of them with Michael Malice.
Oh, that would be a tough show to watch. That would be difficult.
Because they would just be toying with them back and forth. They wouldn't know what to think.
Okay, in the comment section, tell us what your theme would be like if you're coming to the meetup, what you'd like us to talk about on the panel discussion. Keep in mind, it's April 12th. So I had suggested maybe the first 100 days of Trump as a topic, but you may have other topics for the panel discussion. If you're coming to it, are you going to shoot this thing for later consumption or something? Or
I don't think so.
I think
it's just going to be private with us.
Private. Well, totally top secret.
We'll try to have a photographer though, so there's pictures of everybody,
right?
Or whatever.
But if you have a topic, put it in the comment section. Maybe keep in mind who the players are, the 4 different people. So maybe legal, it may be pop culture, it may be whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Barnes, he can go pretty wide, just like you. David and I.
And Viva, of course, could be the MC. I mean, after he gets the leg extensions, I hope that works out for him. It's kind of painful.
Well, we'll be sitting and he's standing. We're fine.
Right.
But all right. Well, I don't know if you saw this. Actually, you had to. I think I sent it to you earlier.
This
Luigi
is crazy.
Mangione,
This is crazy.
He apparently had a little bit of a career for himself.
Okay, let me explain this because I've analyzed this since you sent it to me, and there's more to the story that meets the eye. This guy, and I know this sounds insane, with his own money, was trying to make himself into a porn star. He made over 20 films with extraordinary amounts of money for porn films, of lighting and cinematography, where he's the star of his own porn films. And I believe he was trying to buy himself a career as a porn star by making 20 films of him as the star of the film. And in there, he's performing sex with women, obviously, and doing stuff. And I think when he got hurt, this career that he was creating for himself ended because he claimed he couldn't have intercourse after he got hurt. And people were wondering, okay, you still got a life. We didn't know about this. This was a big part of his life. And apparently, I'm assuming there's sex addiction involved with his life that we didn't know about. And the reason this is coming out now is I believe it's being leaked by the prosecution, who are looking for a motive in the case that they're dealing with in New York. In other words, they're trying to come up with a motive. And I think this was leaked by them to possibly show a motive for what he did, why he did it.
Well, it makes some sense too, because remember, he was complaining, stop sending your news to me.
Yeah. That
would be like pure torture for this guy.
Right.
And
I think he was, this is a bizarre twist in the story, and it's such a bizarre twist that it can only have come from the prosecution at this point, trying to develop a motive for why he did this. Because he's not connected to the guy. It's not a health insurance. He wasn't a client. And I think he just became infuriated over the end of his porn star John Holmes' career. This was Luigi Mangione.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The wannabe hedgehog.
It's a wannabe hedgehog. But I've never heard of anybody doing it themselves. I've never heard of this. This is a whole new twist because he had the money. He had the money.
It's a casting couch.
Right. But okay. But I think his goal was to make himself into John Holmes.
Could be.
Yeah. He doesn't need the money. He's using the money to get great lighting, have a great director, have a great camera, and make himself the star of a porn film 20 times and then watch it himself. Whoa, this took a whole new turn, Eric. This case just took a whole new turn.
Yeah. Anyway, I definitely
Eric pointed out that there is a person named Chelsea Manning who keeps showing up in court for one of his fan base. Again, this is going to be a fascinating case. Oh, and by the way, Maud Maron had a meetup in New York. I heard it went very well. She's going to be running against Alvin Bragg in November on a number of party lines, including conservative and Republican party lines in New York.
You know, speaking of her, and we were just talking about Cuomo and whatever, is there a Republican in New York who could pull a Giuliani? I mean, is New York?
Well, I thought it was Zeldin. I thought it was Zeldin because he had made such inroads, but now he's EPA or something. Then I thought it was what's her name who went to the UN. I thought about her, and then I thought it was a chick out in Staten Island, but I think she's in Congress somewhere.
All right, I was.
A lot of them are not there anymore in city politics because they want a career.
It just seemed like there could be one of those weird moments that everything's lined up and it could happen.
Look, we got Rick Caruso out here, who is a Trump of LA, and he is commenting every day. He's either going to run for governor or mayor against Bass again. So he's the Republican here. They got that nutty sheriff. Remember the sheriff who was out in San Bernardino who arrested the guy saying he was a Trump assassin?
Yeah.
This guy Bianco, he's running for governor of California and goes on with Alec Michelson, and Michelson does an interview with him to launch his campaign. So the guy's like an idiot, and he's a sheriff, and he says, we're going to clean up California, blah, blah, blah. So Alec Michelson starts asking him about his personal life, right? So he says, what about sports? He says, I love baseball, And he says, who's your favorite team? Thinking, of course, he's going to say the Dodgers. And he goes, of course, the New York Yankees. And he goes, what? And he says, yeah. He goes, I'm a Yankee fan. If you want to get 20,000 immediate votes and you're running against this schmuck, all you have to do in every single interview, just say he's a Yankee fan. And just say you'll get 20,000 immediate people who might have voted for him to come over to your side. And he thinks it's a joke. This schmuck saying he's a Yankee fan, running for governor of California, saying he's a Yankee fan, thinks it's humorous. It's just shockingly how stupid some of these Republicans are.
That is shocking.
Right.
You know what he needs to do is he needs to get his act together, and every morning he needs to drink some coffee so he can get on message.
That's a great idea.
Like we are.
Yeah.
We're researching for topics, getting pictures. There's all kinds of news. It's difficult to keep up with everything. So we have to drink coffee into the evening half the time to stay awake to keep going on with the news. But fortunately, we're here to help you. And this coffee will also be at the meetup for people to try, but you don't have to wait that long. You can always go to americasuntoldstories.com/coffee, or
whoa.
You could put your phone at the screen again
with this thing on the screen. Wow.
That's right. I like these. It's a habit now.
You do it all the time?
The QR code. Why not?
Okay.
Why not? You know what? We're going to have a sponsor on Friday. And guess what?
What?
There's going to be one of those on the screen.
Oh, my God.
So it is very helpful. And
if I had a T-shirt with that on there, could people do that to me on the street?
Yes, they could. As a matter of fact, there is a T-shirt going around that is a if you scan it, it's Trump dancing.
Wow, that's
people have been doing that forever.
Great.
So absolutely, you can.
Wow.
You know what? Everybody try it right now. Just go ahead, point your phone.
Go ahead, try it. I don't know. Maybe it'll work.
It definitely does work. The coffee is outstanding. The coffee will work for you and help keep you alert. And the beautiful thing is, it is not burnt. You don't need anything added to it. It's got a really smooth, rich flavor and still keeps you awake. So consider doing that. It helps us out, helps out the show, and it is a veteran-owned company.
Okay.
We do deeply, deeply appreciate, because, I mean, obviously the veterans are here for us. And speaking of veterans, the numbers keep coming in, like setting new records, like, best numbers in 20 years, best numbers in 20. I don't even know. I can't keep up anymore. like we're all the way back to like 9/11 enlistment numbers. It
Oh,
seems,
right.
with Hegseth and what's going on there. They got rid of that guy who was in charge. It's fantastic to see that
Wow.
people are proud. I mean, it's like the recruitment problem is solved overnight by not having an idiot.
Wow.
Amazing how that works, right? It's like pride in the country. There's a lot of people who want to fight for the country, are very patriotic and want to sign up. Fix the recruitment problem. We're not having to dump a bunch of money paying off people trying to get them to recruit to join the military. So that's a cost savings too.
Did you see that Bill Murray thing you sent me, by the way?
Yes, yeah, and
Yeah, because
I'll
I want. Yeah, you sent it to me. I'd already seen a little bit about it before you sent it, but that is weird that he mentions Bob Woodward in that Rogan interview. Bill Murray was on. I think he's getting some kind of an award at the Kennedy Center. I don't know why he's all of a sudden come out of the woods to do anything. He very rarely does press like this.
No, and I was actually wondering, how did he get booked on Rogan? Because
I know.
he so famously has that 800 number.
Yeah.
And the question was, Leslie asked me when she heard he was on Rogan, she goes, was he invited or did he just walk in?
Yeah, no, he will walk into anything. I've got a lot of experience with him walking in on events. That being said, he was on Rogan and he started to complain about Bob Woodward.
It gets funnier. It gets funnier, Mark.
What?
I saved that for you to see.
What
Look who he was hanging with at the Kennedy Center. Apparently got awkward.
Oh, yes, I saw that the next day. Yeah, this is the actual event. Bob Woodward was there. That is funny. That is kind of to fill in. Bob Woodward has written a book called Wired. It was a biography of John Belushi and quite salacious. And Bill was complaining.
Right here.
Okay, go ahead, play it. Yeah,
come on now. Hold on.
I've known, for months.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
So, but however, when I read Wired, the book written by what's his name, Woodward, about Belushi, I read like 5 pages of Wired, and I went, "Oh my God, they framed Nixon."
It's a great line. He's referring to, of course, Woodward and Bernstein's book, because Woodward has, according to Bill Murray, a book called Wired, which is a bestseller, and he finds it to be inaccurate. Let me just leave it at that. And it's a little disingenuous by Bill Murray, to be honest with you.
Well, apparently, Bernie Brillstein, Belushi's manager back in the time, said, "I wonder if Richard Nixon is innocent. I just wish this book would go away." So I guess when the book came out, somebody else had come up with that line too.
It's a great line by Brillstein. I mean, because by the way, the book is, and I'm not a huge fan of Woodward, the book is thoroughly fun and engaging and readable. What they did was typical. They decided to, among the inner circle, not to talk to Woodward, and they spread the word among Belushi's inner circle not to talk to him. But Woodward got people in the next circle to talk to him, the outer circle. And there was enough information to make a book out of it. You can't have it both ways. You can't not talk to the guy and then complain because he talked to people that were further from the center of Belushi's life. And keep in mind, none of these people even attempted to do an intervention on Belushi's life to save him from drug addiction. None of them attempted to do an intervention, including Bill Murray. So it's a little disingenuous.
I thought Aykroyd was trying.
Aykroyd did not, and he was there at his funeral. Let's say the one who did try was his wife, Judy Jacklin. She did make an attempt.
Wow. So sad on the whole thing. All right, well, here's another sad case. We were talking about old Megan, the erstwhile American reject that's married into the crown.
This poor woman with her Netflix show, Eric.
Yeah, well, I don't think she's giving up on her marriage, because now she wants to be addressed by a new name.
Oh, come on. You're kidding me.
No, she corrected people on her show. She is not Meghan Markle. She is Megan Sussex.
Oh my God. Is that the what they go by in the royal family? They take on the area that
Well,
they're
she's the Duchess of Sussex.
right. Okay.
So
Okay.
now she wants to be that. So obviously she's clinging to. I told you, I was like, if her
Yeah.
Hollywood thing's
Yeah. This
done,
thing went
she's
so
gonna help.
south. This thing has gotten some of the worst reviews ever written of any Netflix series. As I said last week, William Morris dropped her as a client on the eve of the release of this Netflix episodic cooking show that is so bad that one of the biggest agencies in Hollywood dropped her as a client because they didn't want to be affiliated with it. That takes a lot.
So have you watched it, Mark? You
No,
take it for the
I'm
team?
busy. I'll tell you what I've been watching, and people can join me. And it's called Boylen Out Loud, Boylen. It's one of the greatest reality shows. It's now replaced the Vanderpumps because the Vanderpumps is on hiatus for an extended period of time. Boylen Out Loud, Boylen. It's a girl. This is set in Maryland. Father works in the federal government. She has Tourette's, and and she's cute and smart and funny and has Tourette's. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's on HBO. One of the greatest reality shows of all time. We're watching it slowly but surely every night. Another episode. This is season 1. Even Dr. Drew called me up. He's watching it nonstop. Dr. Drew. So we're in the middle of all kinds of things about Tourette's. And she's getting married, and I strongly recommend this reality show, Boylen Out Loud.
I interviewed somebody with Tourette's several years ago and learned a lot about it. One, It's like everybody does the whole swearing bit, but that's actually extremely rare.
10%. 10%.
Right. Most people with Tourette's have, the one I spoke to, she has like
that's minor. That's minor.
Gag or a tickle. Well, according to her, she had to get hospitalized every time she get a summer cold because one cough would be continuous. So she would have to literally be put, knocked out, or I don't know how to put it, because she could cough herself to death.
Well, the 10%ers who have the foul language, corpofolia, I think it's called. I forget, corpofolia or something.
Mm-hmm.
She has that in spades. Not only does she have the 10% part of foul language, she's got that off the charts.
Okay.
So be warned. And she says things that are so insane at inappropriate times in the show. I'll just leave it at that.
I think I've seen a clip of it or something.
You might have seen a clip. It just started a couple of weeks ago.
But she's pretty funny. Like what she's saying is actually kind of off base, but funny.
Oh yeah, no, it's a funny show. There's no, and she's got a family of like 7 brothers and sisters. And it's a huge, it's almost like a reality show with a lot of kids, like the Baldwin one, except it's focused on her for the most part and her
entertaining.
Tourette's. Oh, it's entertaining. But the Baldwin one, I watched the half of episode 2 last night, and he's going to Santa Fe, so I turned it off because I kind of know where that's going. But I'll get back to it later.
Well, enjoy your show. Okay, I wanted to ask you about this guy because I had never really heard of Eldridge Colby.
I never heard of him either.
He is the grandson of the former CIA director.
Okay.
And
what does he do?
They're putting him up to be the number 3 post in the Pentagon.
That's sketchy.
And apparently he's so controversial, or there's so much trouble that JD Vance actually went down to testify
on his behalf.
Yes, at the Capitol.
What do you need this guy for?
Well, Vance is saying this guy is some sort of a strategic genius who sees things 4 years ahead that everybody misses.
Oh, okay, all right.
Which may be, but I just want to ask you because
I never heard of him. I mean, I know his father, of course. I mean, his father,
grandfather,
grandfather, yeah.
Well, but I'm just like, who is this guy? Why?
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him down here.
Kind of looks like him, but without the glasses.
Yeah, he was in the first Trump administration.
Okay, maybe he's okay.
maybe it's really confusing because a lot of the Republicans hate him, but they're saying that he has the same policies as Obama.
What?
That yeah, it was like this tablet mag was writing against it, and then JD Vance went against him. Anyway, I just
I don't know.
assumed you
Well,
might
I'll
have
to keep
known
an eye
more
on him.
about
No,
him.
I don't. I mean, now I'm curious. I'm gonna look into it.
Okay, yeah, because I just was
If anybody
really
knows anything, put it in the comment section who this guy is, because I've never heard of him. I mean, obviously William Colby, Family Jewels, CIA, Church Committee, everything, but I don't know about the grandson.
yeah. I mean, it's
Does Mike Johnson sit in back of Trump tonight?
yeah.
And who's the other guy? Thune sits next to him on the other side, or oh no, Vance.
Yeah,
It's Vance and Johnson, right? Not Thune.
yeah, that'd be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, well, the funny part is that Vance
this
is
thing.
with him all the time. I mean, how often do you see a vice president this
Never.
locked in? You know, with Zelensky and everything.
No, that's great to see, because the American people need a successor to Trump, and the faster we get used to him, the better.
And then when we get to hear him talk at the same time, it's like, oh, okay, well, the conversation's continuing.
Yeah, I wouldn't let that Zelensky back in a million years. You know, he's just going to try to undermine something else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can't trust the guy. You can't. I'm sorry.
Oh, he's a sketchy cat.
He's a sketchy dude, bro. I don't care. I don't need an apology from the guy. I don't care about any of that bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
The next time he shows up, it's to sign a peace treaty.
All right. This thing you sent me earlier.
Okay, this is the Serbian parliament. I don't know. Is this a problem, Eric?
This is extremely unusual.
Can
I
you
can't play it
that,
because because YouTube will probably say that blah 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 blah. You know, if there's violence, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. You could see the
It
smoke.
looks like
I don't
a
know
lot
if
of
you could see
smoke.
it.
Well, I don't know. Did you play the thing earlier?
Yeah, no, it's quite wonderful. I mean, it's government at its best, working together to make a greater Serbia.
Okay. All right.
Look what's going on here. Look what's going on here.
That's like smoke grenades.
Yeah, they said they were smoke bombs. Yeah, actual bombs.
Wow.
This was
Wow.
after they hospitalized each other by physical fighting. In other words, 3 of them, I think, were hospitalized physically fighting each other over Bill 2830CB. I don't know what that bill was about, but dude, I love seeing these parliaments fight. We've seen them in South Korea. We've seen them in Serbia. We've seen them all over the world where it just gets resorts to fisticuffs.
Well, it's funny because ours is really dignified in many ways compared to a lot of them. Because look at even Canada, when you have the opposition leader, it's like, I say, and then they yell at each other all the time. Parliament.
Well, I mean, during the Civil War, it wasn't so civilized.
No, they
people beating each other with canes over the head.
Yep, that's South Carolina, senator, I believe. Yeah. But things it only led into a civil war.
Right. But I'm saying we haven't seen a man beaten in the Senate in years.
You say it's time, right?
It's long overdue. Yes.
Well, you know what? But we did not have
them come to Serbia. Let them ich bin ein Serbian.
No, I'm saying it could be time because remember, we didn't have the odd facial hair until recent years. I mean, like an odd, like 1800s facial hair,
right?
And then we had none of that until like several years ago. Now we've got all the weird, all the beards and different facial hair. So maybe it's some of that.
I'd like to see Fetterman interview Zelensky about his clothing choices.
But we could have
or somebody interview the 2 of them. Put it that way. Some normal person interview both of them.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of Fetterman, notice he voted against protecting women in sports.
That's who he is, bro.
Yeah. Right along with every other Democrat. Right, right. It's like, and he's made, he's been there talking out loud saying, "Oh yeah, that's an obvious cultural issue." Blah 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 blah. No, but when the vote happens, of course he's right there. Oh, and then back to Joe Rogan. I just saw this headline. I thought it was kind of a interesting one. I guess Joe Rogan has a beef with Oscar De La Hoya because
Who doesn't? Who doesn't have a beef
Dana
with
White
Oscar? Yeah.
does as well. But Rogan won't let him come on. And I guess Rogan was mocking him for fake abs.
Mm. Got a lot of drug problems, De La Hoya. There's a lot of problems. He's offended, not offended. I mean, he's burned a lot of people.
Well, I know one of them. I interviewed his baby mama.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, so.
I mean, he doesn't need to have Oscar De La Hoya on the show. I don't know. I mean, that's not really necessary.
No. And got a couple more stories. Let's go through some more super chats.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know. I can't see them, so I don't.
That's fine. George Toth with a super sticker. Thank you very much.
Laszlo Toth was the character being played by Adrian Brody. Look up Laszlo Toth because he's playing the guy's name, but he's not exactly playing the character. Who he took a hammer and started smashing up Michelangelo's in Rome and said that he was Christ, and famous anti-art guy before it was popular. Laszlo Toth.
Great. John McGill, have you ever read Interference, copyright 1989 by Don E. Maldia, about mafia involvement in pro football? It opened my eyes. Haven't watched pro sports since.
Yeah, it's a problem with Dan Moldea because he becomes a compromised deep state author. He's a guy who wrote a number of books about the Kennedy assassination and then becomes the gatekeeper to Thane Eugene Caesar and prevents any journalism, including RFK Jr., getting access to Thane Eugene Caesar. So it's hard to take Dan Moldea seriously about those books. He wrote a good book about Reagan. I mean, he's written when he was a normal journalist, and some point along the way, he wrote a book about the Sirhan case that was pretty good. And then he changed the last chapter at the last minute to make Sirhan guilty because he had another book deal coming, which was a famous case that he didn't want to offend the same people in the case. And that was LAPD. And that was the O.J. Simpson case. So he changed the last chapter of his own book, Eric, on the RFK assassination to Sirhan being the lone assassin because he was dealing with LAPD on that book, and he made a book deal to do an OJ book. So Moldea is a sketchy guy. So I don't have an opinion on that book because I don't trust the guy.
Fair enough. I can't see what that says though.
It says Fort Knox Gold in a truck in Bondi's driveway.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't read the username for some reason.
That I don't know. Yeah, gone to play. There's a flag on the. There's a flag.
There is a flag on the play. Okay, sorry. That's like that combination of letters is blowing my brain. I'm sorry. Dog Boy, Rose belongs in the hall. Mr. Steroids doesn't.
Okay, well, put it down below. Barry Bonds not in the hall, and a bunch of Sammy Sosa not in the hall, and a big slugger McGuire from the Cardinals not in the hall because of steroid and drug use. And this guy Pete Rose was involved in something. You could say he did it as a manager. I mean, Barnes has that opinion. Other people have the opinion he didn't bet on the game. He admitted betting on the game, but he only bet on his own team on certain days. It's a crock of shit. He altered rotations of games of his own pitchers. He's not been completely honest about his own storyline.
Right. Owen Smith said Oliver Stone's documentary Ukraine on Fire is unmissable in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's great how it goes way back in time.
Yeah, it's a fantastic documentary. He's got another one that came out a couple of years after that. But Ukraine on Fire, if you want to understand what happened in the Maidan, look at Oliver Stone's Ukrainian 2 documentaries on Ukraine, way ahead of the curve, made before this whole thing started.
Yeah. K-Dog, making Tuesdays great again. Do Hunter and Zelensky use the same coke dealer?
Probably not. I mean, he lives in Kiev. I mean, he's in LA. There's plenty of coke here in LA.
Well, I was thinking about that though. I don't know why it popped in my head last night when they were. I was listening. They were talking about his very notable coke habit. Like he could have been coked up while he was talking to Trump.
Yeah.
Remember when they found the coke in the White House? I'm
Yeah.
like, did Zelensky visit at that time too?
No, apparently not. Apparently not.
So it's got to be Hunter. Okay.
Yeah,
well, I was
probably,
just like,
probably Hunter's.
it's like, oh, it could have been. Anyway, it just popped in my head. Dog Boy, Ruth was the greatest ever. 89 to 36, 2-2, 28 era, 342 average.
Oh, he's talking about the pitching record, 89-36 with a 2.2 ERA, 7.14.
Okay.
Longest score in the world. So that's all true, except it's all going to be broken.
Drunk.
It's all while at one point during a game, he went over to the hot dog vendor while he was in the on deck circle and ate 5 hot dogs while he was waiting to bat. But Ohtani will break every Babe Ruth record ever made. Legitimately, without drugs, without anything, Ohtani will break every single record. My prediction, 714 is not going to survive and hasn't survived because it was passed by Henry Aaron. So. But I mean, it's a two-way player. He was a pitcher like Ohtani's a pitcher. Ohtani's pitching this year, and I'm going to go down and see him this weekend down in Phoenix.
All right. Diffuse 56 said, no, Cuomo can't be mayor. New York City is already in a death spiral.
Yeah, I mean, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Diffuse, this guy, the city is now forced to choose between Eric Adams and Mario Cuomo's son. The
Slee was running again.
Excuse me?
Slee was running again.
Right. I mean, but he's not going to be on a party ticket or survive the primaries. Wow.
Could he run as a Republican?
Yeah, he has before.
Okay. I don't know. Just let me see. Bighorn Shaver said multitasking to raise your YouTube profile.
What does that mean? Multitasking to raise your YouTube profile.
Oh, okay. Maybe watching in the background while they're doing other stuff too.
Oh, he is. You're talking about.
Yeah,
he's doing it. I got you right.
Which we appreciate.
Oh, I got what you're saying. Thanks. That was cool.
Scott H. Carl DeMaio for the win. Governor of California.
Carl DeMaio is just boxed out of this guy in Sacramento, some Republican. Again, I will say it again. We need a celebrity here in California to win this governor's race coming up after Newsom leaves. And putting my eggs into the Mel Gibson basket. It could be some other celebrity. You know, it could be John Voight. It could be Sylvester Stallone. But to cut through, nobody knows who Carl DeMaio is. There's no name recognition.
Yeah, and I don't think Voight. Mel Gibson's got enough.
Yeah, I'm putting my eggs into the
universal support.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know if he's going to do it, but he's been going to war. By the way, there's a new podcast out by Gavin Newsom, and his first guest was apparently Charlie Kirk. And Charlie Kirk said there was a fascinating discussion.
Okay.
His podcast the theme is that he's going to talk to Trump people.
Oh,
that's the theme of the podcast.
I heard about that. That's right.
Yeah. So the first one was Charlie Kirk, which I'm curious to listen to.
Well, Charlie Kirk was very important to Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so Scott Pressler, who is now going to move to New Jersey, by the way.
No, 100%. Why I'm just saying this, they've talked about Charlie Kirk being like next level. It's not just that he's supported, but Kirk has boots on the ground all around the country at college level, whatever. People will knock on doors, you know.
By the way, did you hear Vivek talking about his candidacy for governor of Ohio?
Yeah.
He was interviewed about what he's going to do in Ohio. It was very exciting. Very exciting. I'm thinking of moving to Ohio.
I like what he's going to do. What was weird is that
he didn't have any shoes on.
No. So you shared the tweet of somebody griping about it.
Yeah.
Bringing in the H-1B argument. It's like he didn't say a damn thing about H-1B. He's saying he wants to make Ohio Valley or Ohio River Valley the next Silicon Valley, which is not that far of a stretch because Pittsburgh, which is right nearby there, is already a tech corridor tying in with Ohio. Why not?
Well, it can only go up. I mean, after DeWine and the connections and brains of Ramaswamy, this is a great test case to take a state that, frankly, folks, is on the balls of its ass. I mean, we were in Youngstown. I was appalled by the poverty and the complete dysfunction of the region. Now, maybe there's better areas of Ohio, the area I was in around Youngstown. We were kind of shocked. We were shocked.
Yeah, Youngstown's a suffering area.
Yeah, yeah, no, I
East
know, but I was,
Palestine are,
yeah,
which is near there, but there's other parts of Ohio that are
I just wasn't
better,
at those
for
other
sure.
parts. I was just
Yeah.
commenting on what I saw. I
Yeah.
was appalled.
Yeah, well, I mean, Youngstown, we did a whole show on traffic count and how
Yeah.
Youngstown was destroyed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with this headline, and it makes sense.
Oh,
That
and
Trump
what's his name?
endorsing him immediately.
Right.
I was gonna go-
Also, what's in Florida? The governor of Florida.
but yeah, there's more to that though. Byron Daniels.
Right. What's with this story?
Casey DeSantis, Ron DeSantis's wife,
Right.
looking at running for governor,
So
and
he
Trump
just got blocked there.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, I like him. This guy's great.
Oh, Byron's great, solid candidate.
He's totally solid, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming he's going to win.
I think it really increases the odds. Just
When
like
Trump,
I think
when Trump endorses you early in the home state of Trump.
Exactly. And then
Right.
And Vivek in Ohio, I think that works out fine. Remember, there's questions whether he would get the senatorial spot or governor, and governor's a stronger position if you're planning to raise up later.
I think they got to get to the Supreme Court and deal with these illegal voting rules here in California. Otherwise, we're going to lose the House of Representatives, and not wait till 1 week before the election to do it. They have to drive a stake into this long count here, or they're going to steal 4 or 5 or 6 seats. They will do anything they can in 2026 to take these seats in California. And believe me, you ain't seen nothing yet. If they can control the House through stealing 3 or 4 seats here, they're going to do it. And it behooves Trump to, when he gets a solicitor general, which I don't think he even has yet, I haven't heard of him being confirmed, to get his ass up to the Supreme Court and to begin to sue the state of California over the long count. That's how it's done. And not drag this out until the last minute. Get it going now, so you can get an answer from the Supreme Court on the situation here.
Well, yeah, especially because they're slow footing everything. I mean,
well, New York State has already voted in state and city elections to allow 600,000. They're on the ballot on the registrar's list now. 600,000 illegal aliens can now vote in state and municipal elections in New York. You don't think California is going to do that?
How's that even possible?
They voted that they can, not federal elections, state and city, Eric.
Okay.
Right.
So slippery slope.
Slippery slope is a great phrase for this. Yeah. Yeah. Because they'll just vote anyway. I mean, they'll just say, I voted on this, I voted on that. I'm already in the ballot box here. I'm going to vote for this. Let them figure it out.
Well, and also it's about getting the population up so you can just have more seats anyway.
Right. Well, that's a census issue, right? But I'm talking.
Well, it's both now because you're voting and squeezing.
Well, the illegal aliens can be counted by the census, but that doesn't mean they can vote in a congressional election.
No, but when they're doing all the city level elections and things like that, which can sway a lot of pressure. I mean, these Congress people, they have a district. I mean, Karen Bass is more powerful than a lot of the Congress people because they have a much smaller district. So that's some
Let me tell you something.
spooky stuff.
The entire future of the Trump presidency, and albeit the country itself, is about these congressional elections in California. I cannot stress this enough for 2026 and the impeachment that'll begin the day after they take the House by 1 seat or 2 seats. They will steal this in California. It has to be dealt with now. I'm going to say it every show until I'm blue in the face. He's got to get somebody here. He's got to get boots on the ground. This has to be dealt with on a Supreme Court level and dealt with immediately, not the month before the election, folks.
Yes. We've got midterms coming up, folks. Good God. And everything takes forever because they're going to pull 20 stunts. So if they get shut down one way, they're going to come up with another. And then,
it's just a long count. If you can compartmentalize your lawsuits and sue over the long count of California, which has been put into the the legality and the Constitution of California that they can count for up to 8 weeks after Election Day. That's what you take to the Supreme Court. Not everything. You take this one stinking thing. You take it one at a time. You go up there and say this is unconstitutional, that they're doing this in federal elections. You say, I don't care what they do in mayoral elections. I don't care. They can count till the cows come home in a gubernatorial election. You can't have different laws and rules for a federal election. That's my beef. And then that's what they got to carve out and go now to the Supreme Court. Just that one thing. You got to get rid of these things one piece at a time. And the long count allows them to see the final count of the opposition and then top it. And they keep counting and getting absentee ballots. Did you see what happened up in Connecticut, by the way? They arrested all these Democrats for ballot stuffing or mail-in ballots. They're all been indicted. In Bridgeport, Connecticut. I tell the people at home, take a look at what happened in Bridgeport, Connecticut this week. Multiple indictments, multiple arrests of Democratic operatives with mail-in ballots doing exactly what I said is the system. And this was against themselves. This was against themselves. It's a thoroughly blue state. And they were all indicted and arrested now. And the plot's been exposed in Bridgeport. And it's all through Connecticut. It's all through the Northeast. It's all through the United States, mostly in the blue states, especially in California.
Well, it'll reveal methodology, which they can find.
Yeah, the methodology is revealed in these indictments up in Bridgeport.
All right. Jenny's getting inky with it. Said, is the MSNBC new hire the same guy in the Temu ads showing on YouTube? Does that make him the Temu Joy Reid?
This guy's been at Politico for a while. In fact, not only that, he's in charge of the White House press corps. He is the president of the White House press group, whatever that is, that covers the White House. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about that.
Creature.
That creature, whatever that is the
guy. And he's been fussing up and down because they've been expanding the press pool at the White House. It's like, no, you can't have them. No.
And the AP thing too, that they won't recognize the Gulf of America, which everyone knows, even if you're a little kid, is called the Gulf of America.
That one is probably gonna he'll probably lose in court on that.
Really?
Yeah, because it's compelled speech.
I don't understand. It's compelled speech that
it's the same way Acosta. It's the same way Acosta got put back in. Ultimately, he lost.
Right, but there's no law. Why can't you just say this is the people I want in there? Then you have no authority.
Because he said it was over that statement.
If
he said they're assholes, I don't want them. It wouldn't matter. They'd have nothing.
It's not a question of statement. It's not a question of statement. It's in their style guide.
Right. But because he's stating that's government compelled speech, and it is a First Amendment issue. If he didn't say that, said AP's out of here, I'm just tired of them. Somebody else can come in. He would have been fine.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I still have hope that they'll be destroyed.
All right. Jenny's getting inky with it. Mark, do you have an opinion on Jillian Michaels? Was watching her interview. The
lesbian yoga instructor? You're asking me about lesbian yoga instructors?
Yeah.
What does she do, Eric?
Well, she's most famous for being one of the coaches on The Biggest Loser. And the show The Biggest Loser.
What's The Biggest Loser?
You don't remember that show? It was an NBC show where people lost extreme amounts of weight.
Oh, wait.
In a shorter period. And there's been a lot of problems with it. I think that almost none of the people have kept the weight off. Many of them have gotten very sick. They've gotten worse because of the methodology on the show.
And she's a lesbian?
Well, yeah, but so.
No, now I'm interested. Okay.
Okay. Mark, she's a lesbian. Now it's the titches here.
Go on. She's a lesbian that lost a lot of weight. And
no, she didn't lose the weight. She was a coach.
Oh, she was a coach.
She was one of the fitness trainers.
All right.
On there. But anyway, that's what I know her for most. She may have done other things, but I know her for that.
By the way, there was a guy nominated for Best Actor who played Trump in the Apprentice movie, and it looked like the worst TV movie ever made. And a guy named Jeremy Strong was nominated as Roy Cohen. He looked completely embittered that he didn't win. But the guy who was nominated as the Trump guy looks like the worst performance. It makes the impersonator look like he should have gotten the Oscar.
Okay.
That's how bad this guy was.
Wow. All right. Well, let me see. Last story before we head to locals. I want to see if people support this or not.
What?
The $100 Trump bill.
This is interesting, Hunley.
I like Benjamin Franklin. He's kind of a hero, so I don't know.
But maybe you move Franklin to the 250 bill, which they're contemplating creating.
Well, that's more of a Trump bill. 250 is good for Trump.
Oh, well, I originally heard it was 250 for Trump. I never heard the 100 until the other day.
Actually, you know what? Why don't we bring back the $500 and $1,000 bill? Because
let's ask the audience.
Really
let's ask the audience. Should Trump? Here's the three choices. Should Trump be on no bill, the $100 bill, or the 250 bill? If you can comment down below, no bill, 250, or 100. Right, Eric? And it seems like a legitimate poll.
Yeah. Pew Pew. I know you did give some memberships. I think 10 earlier. I thought I did announce that. If I missed it, I do apologize.
I don't remember.
But I definitely appreciate it. I'm sure I did. But if not, I apologize. Pew Pew did give membership. He's one of the best on that. But also add in mind too. Should we bring back the $500 and $1,000 bills? Because
all right. Comment down below.
We actually had a $100,000 bill at one point. You know
what? Oh, that's right.
Woodrow Wilson.
Right. Yeah, it was $1 for every lost life in World War I. Yeah.
Anyways,
I was watching Viva and Barnes. And I'm sitting there in my underwear, and I'm commenting. I'm doing other stuff, and I'm putting up some jokes in that comment section. So anyway, some guy, and Pasha was in there saying you got to pay to get read. I said I ain't paying anything, right? I'm just kibitzing with the people in the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
So some guy in comments to Viva and Barnes saying misspells my name and says Mark Groubert says Trump should only serve 2 years and be replaced by J.D. Vance. So Viva says, I don't think Groubert is a narc any longer. And then he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I don't think he was ever a narc. And then he doesn't know what to say. And then, dude, it was insane. And then Barnes says, I think Mark is just putting out thought ideas, to discuss, which is what I do. So Barnes explained it like I wasn't saying that as a prediction. You know what I mean? But Viva got all tongue-tied because he said narc. And he goes, I don't think he's a narc anymore. Which is a great line. For the record, I was never a narc. I'll just.
It would have been a great line if he didn't trip over himself.
Right? No, he tripped all over himself. Yeah. Then he was going to call me a drug dealer, and he realized maybe that's a bridge too far. So he got all twisted and tongue-tied. Then, in the middle of the night, he DMs me, asking him how I knew that De Niro was a coprophagist, and I go, what is this? And I said it's in his divorce settlement, in the divorce court records from his wife. And he said, do you happen to have those? I go, what am I, the National Archives, Viva? He's asking me if I've got the divorce documents for Robert De Niro and his wife. And so I go and I get a link, and I found it and sent it to him.
Oh, do me a favor, send it so we put it on locals.
I'd be happy to. It's on my DM, and it's anonymous versus anonymous, by the way. That's why you can't find it.
Okay. Well, but because we brought it up before, and that'd be a good thing.
Yeah. No, it's I went around, and there's a you can find it pretty quickly if you know what you're doing. But I said, Viva, what am I, the National Archives for you? Go find it yourself.
He probably needed it for Tim Pool.
I don't know what he needed it for, but
I bet he was on Tim Pool last week.
What does that have to do with De Niro and
because
feces?
He probably brought it up in the show. Look, David, he gets excited and he brings up the subjects, and then I could see them asking him
where he heard this. So he says, I better contact Mark Groubert immediately. Hello, Mark Groubert.
I wouldn't be. Look, he's the guy who sits there and goes, are you coming on anytime soon? On his phone in the middle of the show. There's no subtlety with him whatsoever. I could see him totally going, oh, hey, give me that. Anyway, Jenny's getting inky with us said Jillian has a podcast now. Heather Hine was on a bit ago, Brett Weinstein's wife, which is why it was in my recommend. It could be a great podcast. I'm just stating where I know her from. And I know that she's been pro-Trump.
Okay.
Dan Sundin saying leave Viva alone. Come on. Viva's like our brother.
He'll
gotta
be
pick
left
on-
alone because he wants to go out to Death Valley with me on a day trip to Death Valley. I don't know what he's expecting to find out there, but if we go in April, it won't be that hot, so maybe we could survive. But usually
yeah,
it's a
that's
little
the
too
time
hot.
to
When
go.
you get to May, it becomes too hot.
Oh, believe me, I know. I was at Fort Irwin, which is very close to there.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, May can get extremely hot.
A lot of those
May,
drones are
June,
flying
some-
out of Tucson, by the way. Those CIA drones are coming out of Tucson, Eric.
Well, Fort Huachuca's Army
It's coming out of
intelligence,
Fort Watch. It's coming out of there
military
too.
intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no,
Wow,
no
that's a
surprise.
weird story. And it's the big ones, the Reapers.
Well, and also Davis Mountain is where we have the Air Force graveyard. I mean, they have like thousands of decommissioned planes that could be turned on at any point. It's an
Wow. That's
interesting location. All right. Well, we are going to be heading over to locals to continue this conversation. A place that you all could go and follow us for free. Be a member there for free, or you could even pay to support, and that'll give access to other documents, a audio drama on Oswald. We put up hard to find books, different things like that. And you can
This guy was
participate in that.
commenting on Oswald on our, I don't know, he must have seen the episode, and he Eric and I have a policy of no lone nutters on the channel. We don't cotton to lone nutters. But this guy said that the incident in the theater where Oswald supposedly tried to kill the police officer, but the police officer put his thumb in the firing of the trigger. I don't know if you remember that. So I said to the guy, it's a made up bullshit story. Otherwise they would have charged Oswald with attempted murder of a cop. And then he was beaten up in there, and they I think they wanted to kill him in the theater, but there was a mob outside already.
They didn't even charge him with resisting arrest either, did they?
No, because they were beating the shit out of him. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so I mentioned this to the guy, and I said, I usually do this when they ask a question, I answer it as intelligently as I can, and then at the end I just go, "You're not a lone nutter, are you?" And the guy comes back and says, "Fuck you, conspiracy people." And that was the end of his thing.
That was on locals?
No, it was in the on
Oh,
our
YouTube.
YouTube YouTube comment section this morning.
Oh, okay.
And then a second guy, having no connection to this guy, same thing, asking some obscure question about Oswald and some accusatory thing, and I politely explained the details, and at the end I go, "You're not a lone nutter, are you?" And came back with another rude statement. And I said, "We don't allow that type on the channel. I'm sorry." And he says, "I'm leaving. Go fuck yourself." Whatever. But they don't like it's really interesting, their mindset. Because whatever question they ask, I think I have an answer for. You know what I mean? For the most part.
All right. Well, we'll continue this discussion over on locals and see you there momentarily.
All right.